Okay, so we are all here today, this morning, for the Women-Owned Small Business Certification Deep Dive. I am Taylor Bowes. I am the director of the Northern California APEX Accelerator program, and I'm joined today by one of our procurement specialists, Nancy Pigeon. Nancy comes with a ton of contracting experience, and she's one of our specialists who specializes in the Women-Owned Small Business Certification. So she has done lots of these trainings for us, and she has also helped countless clients through the certification process. I'll kind of read through her bullets here. Her background is, it always shocks me every time I read them, even though I work with her every day, but 10 years AMMO and 12 years contracting with the U.S. Air Force, former federal government contracting professional. She was an Air Force civilian, Veterans Affairs training officer, and Bureau of Reclamation contracting officer. And then she's been with Norcal APEX Accelerator for quite some time. We used to be called Norcal PTAC. So she's been counselor for us for 4 years now. And before we jump into the agenda for today's presentation, we do have a few wonderful partners with us today who have partnered with us on this series and have actually partnered with us for the past few years. So today I'm delighted to introduce to you Darlene Neal from the Oakland Women's Business Center.
Thank you, Taylor, and welcome everyone to today's webinar and this series of Women in Construction. We are honored to be here today to support the growth of women business owners in various ways. So I am Darlene Neal, as Taylor said, the director of the Women's Business Center here at A New America in Oakland. We are in the Fruitvale district and we serve the greater San Francisco Bay Area. We are two of the organizations throughout Northern California. We have, in Southern California, we have over 100 women business centers to support women entrepreneurs. One of the things that we do is really look at how we level the playing field for women entrepreneurs. And we do this by providing educational webinars. We have one-on-one consulting, technical support as well. And so our centers are open in Oakland and San Jose from 9 to 5 to the general public. And our goal is to really provide services to you, to assist you, and our services are of no charge. So again, we are here and delighted to be of support. We have helped numerous of women entrepreneurs with getting started with setting up the application process for women-owned small business certification. And so we're here to support and be there for you as you need us. So feel free to reach out if you need additional assistance. Thank you, Taylor. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Darlene. Okay, and we do have two other partners in this series with us who were unable to be here today. So I'll quickly just introduce who they are. This one is Merriwether and Williams, and they provide technical assistance and bonding assistance. And then this one, I hope you're no stranger to NAWIC. This is the National Association of Women in Construction, the San Francisco Bay Area chapter. These two organizations, NAWIC and Merriwether and Williams, like Darlene, have partnered with us for the last few years on this event, have been incredible supportive partners, and they're great resources for women-owned businesses in the construction industry. So everyone will receive these slides after the presentation. I don't think I'll do them justice by talking about the organizations for them, but please do go back and reference these slides and consider using them as resources. These are some upcoming events NAWIC has going on. A couple of these have passed, but there are two upcoming. There's one on the 6th, it's our NAWIC San Francisco Bay Area member celebration. And then they have one on the 7th, which is a virtual panel called Building Stronger Foundations, a panel discussion on all for women in construction, or on allies. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to go over our program a little bit and just tell you a little bit about who we are, what we do, and why. And then I'll introduce Nancy. I'll hand it over to her, and she'll be the presenter of our main topic today, the Women-Owned Small Business Certification. So we are the APEX, the Northern California APEX Accelerator. The APEX Accelerator program is a national program federally funded by the Department of Defense. So we are your taxpayer dollars at work. There are APEX accelerators in almost every state of the US, and then in large states like California, there's multiple APEX accelerators. The main mission of the APEX Accelerator program is to support businesses in being competitive and successful in the government market. So as you can see here, our region spans from the very top of the California border there with Oregon. So we serve all these counties in blue here that you can see. It's 15 coastal Northern California counties, including all of the Bay Area counties. What we do, we provide 3 main pillars of free support to small businesses interested in government contracting. We provide one-on-one confidential counseling. And that's what Nancy, our presenter, does for us here. She meets one-on-one with small business owners, and we help them with cradle to grave, anything having to do with government contracting. So from the very initial stages of, you're just getting interested in government contracting, you want to learn more about it, see if it's even right for your business. We can help you with the initial registrations you have to do, like registering with the state of California or with the federal government or with local entities. We can also help you through certification processes, like the one today, the Women-Owned Small Business Certification is one of many socioeconomic certifications. And we can really hold your hand through those processes because they can be overwhelming and time consuming. So registrations, certifications, we can help you find bid opportunities. We can review bid opportunities with you, make sure that you understand what you're bidding on, that you're addressing all the important factors, that your proposal is complete, all of that kind of stuff. And then we can help with the contract compliance, contract management, and lots of other kind of niche things that a business may encounter if they're starting to become successful in the government market. We can help with things like cybersecurity, which is a new big one. Things like technology related grants and stuff like that. And then everything related to public works contracting, which, as probably most of you on the call know, is kind of its own world. It's a world within a world in the contracting, in contracting. So, and then we also do custom bid matching. So we use a software where if you become a client of ours, we'll plug in your information into this bid matching system. We use keywords, NAICS codes, location, things like that. And then you'll be automatically emailed relevant bid opportunities to you daily or weekly that match your business. And then we also provide lots of other resources and training. This is an example of the kinds of trainings we do. We hold lots of webinars, a few in-person events throughout the year, but ranging on all topics having to do with government contracting, like I mentioned. We have a few upcoming trainings this month, and at the end of this presentation, I'll go over those and let you know what events we have coming up. To sign up for our services, you just go to our website, which is norcalptac.org. Again, we used to be called PTAC. We just went through a name change to APEX Accelerator. So norcalptac.org, and there's a red sign up button. You just hit sign up. Fill out a brief online form. You'll be prompted on what to do from there. We will contact you. We will get you assigned to one of our procurement specialists and start the process from there. If you are not located in our service area, that is okay. There's APEXs all over the nation. There's APEXs throughout California, and we will get you connected with your appropriate APEX if you apply with us accidentally. If you want to try to find your local APEX on your own, there is a link here. This aptacus.org find a PTAC is a really helpful link to find your nearest APEX Accelerator. Last thing I'll mention here is just, if you sign up to be a client with us, it's very low commitment. There's not like a certain amount of hours you need to log with us. There's not, you're not committing to anything necessarily. It just means that you're assigned to one of our procurement specialists, and we are here to help you and serve you through whatever you need assistance with having to do with government contracting. So you cannot meet with us for a while and find a bid opportunity you're interested in, email it to your counselor and they'll walk you through it, for example. So no time commitment. All right, I think that's a brief overview of the Norcal APEX Accelerator program. And now I'll hand it over to Nancy Pigeon. We have a lot of great content to get through with this Women-Owned Small Business certification. So Nancy, please take it over from here.
Okay, great. Thanks, Taylor. So welcome everyone. Glad to see folks here again for our annual Women in Construction Week. Always a pleasure to present the WSB information at this annual meeting. So just a training disclosure. Everything that's within the slides are current at the present moment. But if you're watching in the future or reviewing the slides in the future, some things may have changed. So just make sure you double check that anything that seems critical. And sorry, I had COVID the mid-January and I still get a frog in my throat. So I may be drinking a lot during this. Well, now it's not working. Oops. Okay, sorry, it was just a bit slow there. So today, I'm just going to do a basic overview of the program requirements. This webinar is about how to register and apply and walk you through some of the screens. So if you happen to want to do the certification on your own, you can do that, hopefully with using these slides and all the other information that comes from WSB certified.sba. I would highly recommend if you have a counselor that you meet with them so that they can check your documents and walk you through it. It can be a bit tricky application to get through. And if you're not a client, you can register. If you just want to do WSB, we can just do WSB with you. So please try to get some help on this one, because like I said, it can be a bit tricky. So the agenda, we're going to show how to create an account, go through some application highlights, some screenshots. We'll talk about the economically disadvantaged women-owned small business, the financials that you have to provide. Then I'll provide some helpful info and a timeline. And then I have some resources. And then we'll go through the Q&A section. I meant to say, if you're looking for something that's a webinar about the actual certification program, all the requirements, I do have a link to the webinar I did last year for Women in Construction Week, and you can view that. So we'll go through the basic surface. So I'm just going to give you a basic understanding of the program. So to be eligible for the contracting program, you must have the managerial experience to fully run your business as the woman-owned owner. You have to be 51% owned by women. You must have the highest office position. You have to manage the daily operations. You must have the proper NAICS code, and we'll go a little bit more into that. And then there's no minimum time for you to be in business in order to apply for the WSB certification. So for the economically disadvantaged requirements, and these just increase, the personal net worth, the assets minus the liabilities, must be less than $850,000. The 3-year average income is $400,000 or less. And the fair market value of all your assets is $6.5 million or less. So that's to get the economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business. If you're just doing the woman-owned small business, you don't have to provide any financials. So you may ask, what's the difference between the WSB and the EDWSB? The woman-owned small business is a woman-owned small business. And the EDWSB, if you happen to follow those parameters I just read, you can become an economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business, as long as the owner or the manager claims economic disadvantage. And then, so the EDWSB is a subset of WSB. So if you qualify for EDWSB, you're automatically a WSB. So, and then NAICS codes, hopefully you know what your NAICS codes are. If you're in construction, you're in the 2 series of NAICS codes. But there are only 733 NAICS codes that apply to woman-owned small business or economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business. So there's 626 for WSB and 107 for EDWSB. Usually in construction, there's quite a few of the EDWSB that are in there. Let me just have you do the slides, Taylor, because there's such a lag. If that's okay. There we go. Okay, thank you. Sorry, it worked when we practiced. So in order to apply for the WSB, EDWSB, you must have a login.gov account to log into the platform. So if you have to be registered in SAM, so you should have a login.gov account in order to apply. You must have your UEI and be registered in SAM. And as of July 15th, 2020, so gosh, almost 4 years now, there are 2 ways to become certified. Either you certify through the SBA certification site, which is free, or you certify through a third-party certifier, which costs you money. And that will be an annual fee because you have to certify every year. For the WSB, it's every 3 years that you have to recertify. So if you want to go through the SBA certification site, get with your counselor and we can get you through it, and it shouldn't cost you anything. And the SBA has authorized 4 nonprofits to perform the third-party certifications, which is El Paso Hispanic, the National Women's Owners Corporation, the U.S. Women's Chamber of Commerce, and the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. Most of the ones I work with, they have gotten the U.S. Women's Chamber of Commerce, the WeBank certifications. Those are the ones I deal with the most. However, once you get the certification, you still have to go into the SBA site and apply for certification and upload the certification you got from the third-party provider. Sometimes I don't tell you that and you think you're WSB and you're not. So just remember that if you go through one of those third-party certifiers. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we're going to go through how to create your account. Okay, so WSB Certify is wsb.certify.sba.gov. And this is their intro webpage. And what you can do on here is you can access the checklists that provide guidance before applying, which I highly recommend you do. Don't just jump right in. You need to prepare for this. You can verify your eligibility. You can find questions and answers. Request information from the SBA via the help form. And you can create an account and proceed with your application, and then access the knowledge base, which includes training videos and user guides. So, so there is at the top, if you look at the top bar on the certification page, there is a prepare and should I apply. I recommend doing should I apply first. Then you can do prepare. And then the knowledge base is really good. There's a lot of information. I have a screenshot of it on the next slide. So go ahead, next slide. So this is the knowledge base. When you're first preparing, you'll want to come here. and get the certified external checklist. It tells you what documents you're going to need. And then they also have the quick start guide. So there's many topics in here. They've added a lot over the years. So, and if their topic isn't here, they have a facts section too for frequently asked questions. So take a little time, explore the website, do I qualify, the prepare, and then come in here and get your checklist and everything you're going to need. They even added some videos like submitting tax documents for EDWSB, and submitting a letter of explanation for us. So they have some videos in here now, which is good, to help people get through this. Next slide. Okay, create account. So if you're in the wsb.certified.sba.gov, you're going to log in with your login dev account, which you should already have because you should be registered in SAM if you're coming in here to get certified. You'll click the login button. You'll use your login.gov credentials. And then once you're logged in, you'll see the term and conditions that you'll need to accept and continue. You may be prompted to establish an SBA Connect account once you're logged in. Just go ahead and do that, and then you can continue on after that. Next slide. And so here's the terms and conditions you'll just accept on this one. Go ahead, next slide. So claim your business. So this is the thing that kind of trips people up the most. The owner has to claim the business. So the owner needs to have a login.gov account in order to log in and claim the business. The owner has to claim the business. It can't be anybody else. And they use the information from your SAMDov account to verify your identity and claim your claim your business. So when in that prepare stage, make sure you're going through your SAM profile and making sure everything is correct. And there's some other tips going through here that I'll highlight. And then before you begin, you're going to need your UEI, your tax identification number, and the bank account number to enter into your SAM.gov profile. And this is usually what is a sticking point. Some people don't remember what the bank account is they put in SAM. Sometimes we'll have to go and look when we're in the middle of the application at which one they actually use. Some businesses have more than one account and they can't remember which one they put into SAM.gov. Ensure your SAM.gov account is current active. I already touched on that. And here's the really important one. Make sure the firm owner is listed as a government business point of contact on SAM.gov. So like I said, make sure you're reviewing your SAM.gov account. Make sure you as the owner is the government business point of contact. Otherwise, it's whoever the government business point of contact, that's who they're going to say is the owner. And then you have to go through a lot to get that reversed. And if you're going to make changes, say you start the application and you find some things wrong in your SAM account and you got to go change your SAM.gov account, you can't go back into the WSB application for 72 hours. And sometimes when you start and there's information wrong, we have to send in a help desk ticket to get them to delete that entire application, and we have to start over. Yeah, so this is just saying again, it has to be the primary business owner who starts this. And it says if you are not, don't proceed in claiming your business. And that's very important. Don't give it to someone else to do. Next slide. Okay, so here's the claim the business page. What you're going to do is put in your UEI number, your tax ID number, and again, that bank account number you registered in SAM, which I haven't read here. It's very important that you know what that number is. Otherwise, you're not going to get in to claim your business. You'll click find, and I'm sorry, these are grayed out, but once you put your information in, they'll turn blue. So you're going to click find. It should find your business, and then you can claim it. And that starts the process of doing a certification. If it doesn't find it, then you put some information in wrong, or there's something else wrong. So that's why I say it's kind of good to work with a counselor or someone else who knows how to get through this application, because it can be really touchy when claiming the business and other things. So just keep that in mind. Next slide. Okay, it's going to pull your primary NAICS code, which you mark in SAM. So again, check your SAM, make sure you have the correct primary NAICS code. If it's wrong when you come in here, you're going to have to change SAM. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put the, well, if your small business size is determined by number of personnel, it's going to ask you your number of employees over the last 2 or 3 years, however many years you've been in business. And that's going to determine if you're a small business. If you happen to be in services and it's based on the dollar amount, you're going to have to put the dollar amount over the past 3 years, your like average annual revenue type thing. Okay, next slide. Okay, so you're going to select that you're for-profit business, and then it's going to tell what the primary business type is, and it's going to pull that from SAM. So if you happen to go from a sole proprietorship to an LLC and you didn't change it in SAM, it's going to put sole proprietor in there, and we'll have to go change it in SAM. So again, check your SAM before you come in here, because if we have to go change it, then we have to wait 72 hours to go back in. Next slide. This one is just saying, are you, if you have an active exclusion, which means something happened, you did a contract and something happened and they've excluded you from government contracting, you're going to know if you're debarred or excluded. So most of the time the answer is going to be no on this. You won't be able to certify if you're debarred. I'm just going to get a quick drink. Okay, next slide. The next step is to confirm your citizenship, your eligibility. If you use your birth certificate and it's your maiden name and you've married, you'll also need to include your marriage certificate, because if your name on your business is in your married name, all the names have to match on all the documents. I recommend if you have a US passport to use a US passport, but it has to be unexpired. So, and then of course there's naturalization or the birth abroad. But again, my note there is make sure your legal name matches on all your documents. So if your business is in your married name, your documents need to show how you got that married name. Next slide. Okay, so once you've claimed your business and gone through the citizenship, if you want someone to continue the application for you, you can delegate them, and that's what this is. That you can delegate them, they can upload your documents for you, answer the questions. I don't recommend this unless the person really knows your business and can answer the questions properly. But I do know you get busy and you don't have time to do these things and you want to hand it over to someone else. But I suggest you work with your counselor, and for me, I can get you through it probably 30 minutes. It doesn't take that long if you work with somebody and you have all the documents and everything to go through it. You can assign a delegate, but they cannot submit the application. Only you can submit the application. So they can get to a certain point and then you'll have to take back over. Next slide. Okay, we'll go through some of the, so that was registering and getting all set up. And now this is the actual application, what you need to do for the application. Next slide. Okay, so the first slide is going to ask you, are you 51% owned and controlled by one or more women? So you'll put yes there. And then this one, this warning and this question is very important. If your firm is 51% owned and controlled by one or more economically disadvantaged women, you're going to say yes. And that means you're going to fill out the EDWSB application and you're going to provide all your financials. If you say no, you're just going to do the WSB application and you don't have to give any financials. But double check your NAICS to make sure you can apply for the EDWSB too. There's kind of 2 requirements there. Next. Okay, business structure. There are certain documents that you have to provide based on your business structure, sorry. So a partnership agreement, you must show at least 51% of each class of partnership is unconditionally and directly owned by the applicant, and must show the applicant serves as general partners with control over all partnership decisions. This is really about management and control. All your documents need to show this. If you don't have any of this in your documents, then you need to correct how your business is set up before you go for this certification. You're going to need the corporate stock ledger and the stock certificates, and it must show that you, the applicant, own at least 51% of all outstanding stock. And for this, sometimes I'm with someone in a corporation, they set up a corporation with only them. You still have to have a stock ledger, you still have to have stock certificates, and they want you to upload the stock ledger and the front and back of your stock certificates. That's kind of one of the perils of doing a corporation with a single member. It must show, stock ledger must show at least 51% of each class of voting stock, and the articles of incorporation and bylaws must show the application or the applicant controls the board of directors. So if your articles of incorporation don't state that you're in charge and control the board, you'll have to do some meeting minutes and go ahead and show that that's true. You have to show within your business documents that you own and control at least 51% of the business. Next slide. Limited liability company. You need your articles of organization and an operating agreement. And this is kind of hard for, and it's in red because most people I work with from California, they don't have an operating agreement because California doesn't require an operating agreement for a limited liability company. However, the federal government does require it. So if you don't have an operating agreement, there are plenty of templates out online. You can make one up. If you work with LegalZoom or a lawyer to set up your LLC, you can ask them to do it for you. Okay, and it must show at least 51% of each class of member interest is unconditionally and directly owned by the applicant. And I recommend an LLC, you have managing members and just members. I recommend you make the managing member only you and everyone else a member. That just makes things a lot easier. Serve as yeah. So the second bullet there is what I'm saying. You need to be the managing member, and you have to control over all decisions of the limited liability company. And then there's sole proprietorship. You can still get a WSB certification. I always get that question. You'll just need your doing business as or trade name certificate reflecting the state filing, if applicable. If you are just going under your name, that's fine too. So a lot of people just have their sole proprietor just under their name, and that's fine. We would just need to use your business license from the city or county. Next slide. Okay, so we're back to kind of the existing certifications and the third-party certifier that I talked about previously, the one that you can get through those organizations. And if you're an 8A, current certified 8A, or I mean in the program, you're not certified, you're in the program. And if you're a veteran, you can just take the certificates you get from the 8A or the third party or your CVE from the SBA, your certified veterans entity. And when you get to the certain part, it's going to ask you for other certifications. You'll upload those, and then you'll immediately go and submit the application. You don't have to do any of the other questions or anything. And like it says here, if you're an 8A, you should apply for the EDWSB because you've already turned in all your financials and everything to join the 8A program. Next slide. And This one's about the resume. So you're going to you need to hold the highest officer position in the business and have managerial experience needed to run the business. So this is not a capability statement. This is not anything else. This is an actual resume. If you don't have one, you need to make one. It needs to include your current business and your managerial experience and what all you do for the business. And then you're going to upload the resume on this screen. It says upload resume. So just make sure it's pretty spot on and includes everything that you do for the business, whether it's if you're just a single entity and you're doing the accounting, the hiring, the firing, all of that, you need to include that in your resume. We get a lot of things turned around because of the resume. Next slide. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you go back? There's a link in the slides that says what is required in the resume. It's also out on the knowledge base. So if you want a better idea of, it's not very long. It just tells you the basics, but you can take a look at that on what's required in a resume. Next slide. Okay, full-time basis and devotion. In order to get the certification, you must manage the business on a full-time basis and devote full-time attention to the business during normal working hours of similar businesses. So this can kind of be, if you are still working and you're trying to start a business, this one can be kind of complicated. And you may have to do a letter stating how much time you spend on the business, because maybe you work, you worked a shift and then during the day you work on this business, things like that. So if you answer no here, you're going to have to do that letter stating the amount of time that you spend on the business. Okay, next. Okay, so if you're the only person, single member LLC, single member corporation, and the sole proprietor, sorry, I can't kick it out, then you won't have to worry about this. But if you have people on your board of your corporation or a co-owner, they're all going to have to fill out a questionnaire too. So you're going to have to add them. They'll get an email, they'll go in and fill out their part. Okay, and it kind of gives you an example here. If a firm has 3 owners with ownership distribution of 34% woman, 33% woman, 33% man, each woman in this example must complete an application. This is required to qualify for WSB or EDWSB. That's if you're the man has to do 1, 2. This is kind of misleading, but if you're not 51%, you have to show how it's broken up between each woman. And every firm claiming economic disadvantage must have their spouse fill out a financial information. So yes, if you are doing the EDWSB, your spouse also has to fill out an application and may have to provide his financials if they're separate from yours as well. And then anyone who's on the board of your corporation must complete an application too. And they're going to want the resumes and everything. They're trying to discern if you are actually the highest member. If someone has a better resume than you that shows more managerial, then that's not good. So they'll say that you don't manage it, this other person does. Okay, next slide. Okay, and then when you go into the individual owner questionnaire, this is kind of demographics that they take. So you'll just fill this out: sex, marital status, social security number, date of birth, citizenship, phone number, current address, and you'll upload your resume in this section. Next slide. And then you will you'll fill out the applicant firm ownership, the percent of ownership and the positions you held. This is like a fill-in block. Your bank account access, it's just going to ask you to describe if there's any limitations on your bank account, like you can only withdraw so much, or you have to have a dual signature to obtain the money, that type of thing. You'll describe those limitations. If you have no limitations, you'll just put NA. Again, full-time devotion, an outside job, it's going to ask you about that. Your business affiliation, so if you have any affiliates, if you work with another company and you share resources, employees, or someone helps to fund you, any type of affiliation, they're going to want to know about that, because that also adds to the number of employees or the amount of money that you make each year to determine your small business size. If you happen to have a spouse or anyone in your household that works for the federal government, you will have to submit a letter of no objection from the agency that they work for. And this is to show that they are not working in your business on like a full-time basis and then working their federal job too. And to find out if there's a conflict of interest between their federal job and what you do. So if you have anyone that's working for the federal government, just know that you're going to have to get this letter. Next slide. Okay, so once you finish filling out your individual section, it's going to show you this, everyone that you invited, like other owners, and other individual contributors like your husband, and things like that. It's going to show it here when you get to this section, and it's either going to say incomplete or completed. You won't be able to submit your application until everyone on here is completed. Okay, and you can add the contributors here as well. If you're a corporation, you need to add all your board members here, and they also will have to do an application. So there's two places. If it's just an owner LLC and you have members, they'll have to fill it out. If you have a board, you have to put all the board members here and they have to fill out. Okay, next. Okay, so at this point, you're going to attest to all your answers, and you're going to submit your certification. And in the red, it says only the applicant can do this. Please, if you're the woman owner, you must be the one that goes in here and does this. You must log in with your login.gov account and submit the application. Next slide. And when you're testing, you're going to read all of these items, and you're going to click the box next to each one. And then you're going to click that you've read the warning, and then you're going to attest that everything in this application is true, and you will submit it, and then your application will be submitted. And if you look on your dashboard, it will say submitted and the submission date. Okay, next slide. Okay, so let's go into what some of the financials are that you're going to have to upload if you're doing the EDWSB. So this is your financial records that show that you're economically disadvantaged, and what they want here is at least 3 W-2s, schedules, federal tax returns, Form 1040, or and IRS Form 4506T for the applicants and their spouses. So, and if you look down here where it says W-2 schedule IRS, if you click on each one of those, that's where you're going to upload it. Next slide. So net worth, it's now 850K. Your net worth, it says 750 on the slide because I took the screenshots from their user guide, and they haven't made a new user guide. I'm hoping they do, because it's much easier to go through and see everything in the user guide. I did put a link for the old one, but just remember the new is now 850K on all 3 of the things that you have to prove have changed. And this is, can they show that their personal net worth, assets minus liabilities, is less than 850? excluding her ownership interest in the business and her equity interest in her primary personal residence. So you'll need to calculate that. Next slide. Adjusted gross income is now 400,000. It used to be 350,000. And each woman with less than 350,000 in adjusted gross income average over the previous 3 years, or however many years you've been in business if you haven't been in business 3 years. And then you'll just answer these questions. The bottom one, if you happen to say win the lottery and your income, goes up, you can tell them that, this isn't normal. I won, $1 million lottery, so my income, my average and gross average income has increased, but that's not normal. If you've taken losses, a huge loss in 1 year, you can also explain that. So if there's any irregularities, you can explain it. And I think up here I said adjusted gross income. I was thinking business. This is your adjusted gross income on your personal taxes. I'm sorry about that. I'm used to doing all the other applications where you have to do your 3-year average. Okay, next slide. Okay, and this one is fair market value. It was 6 million, now it's 6.5 million. And is the fair market value of all the assets of the applicant at or less than 6.5 million. Assets include primary residence and the value of the business. And can the applicant confirm that no assets were transferred within the 2 years of the date of EWOSB? So if you transferred any assets within the last 2 years, you're going to have to say yes and provide that information. Next. Okay, so here's the additional things that they want to know. They want to know how much cash you have on hand, other sources of income, any notes receivable, your retirement counts. You have to upload the most current statement. Life insurance, if it has a cash surrender value, and then stocks and bonds. Stocks, bonds, or mutual funds market value. Usually if you do your current statement, that will suffice. Next slide. You will have to provide information on your real estate, your primary residence, and then any other real estate you might own. Any personal property over 2,500, such as jewelry, art, boats, antiques. You'll have to provide that information. Any notes payable or liabilities include credit cards, personal lines of credit, which excludes mortgage and vehicle loans. Assess taxes, any past due personal taxes, and that only means only taxes that are unpaid that they're asking you for. Personal tax returns, you must upload tax returns, your personal ones for the past 3 years, and they want the full return with all the schedules and everything. Okay, next slide. Okay, and then once you have uploaded all those documents, you go back to that the attest page, and you mark all the blocks and you submit it, and you've submitted your application. Okay, next slide. Helpful info and process time. Next slide. Make sure you monitor your email because they might send you some deadlines or updates from the WSB team. Uploading your document, please only upload PDFs and ensure that your documents are not password protected. Average processing time is 8 months. I'm going to say probably 9 to 12 months. If you don't hear from them in 120 days, that does not mean there's an issue with your application. They may just not have gotten to it yet. They might send you a request for information, and on average, you'll have 5 to 7 days to respond to that. And make sure to note the due date and bold it in the RFI letter. And sometimes this requires you to go back into the application and update what they're asking you to update. Next slide. And this is just, I put this here as a visual of how things are going to go. So you're going to submit. It's going to go through this screening. If you're missing any documents, the screener will get a hold of you. Then it'll process. That's when the 90-day process begins. They'll request any RFIs. They'll submit a final recommendation to the director, and then the director makes the final decision and issues a letter and marks official the date of entry into WSB program. Next slide. Okay, common reasons for return. You're missing the filed articles of organization or articles of incorporation. It has to be the one you get from the Secretary of State that is stamped, filed. Usually you can find that online if you need it. Governing documents have not been properly executed. I kind of went over this some. You have to have an operating agreement. You have to make sure your corporation has the bylaws, and that in the bylaws it states that you are the owner and have full control over the business. Next slide. Incomplete resumes. Like I said, don't submit a biography or capability statement. Make sure it includes your name, your work history, your titles and positions, and your education and licenses. And then here's the note about current outside employment. It include a letter of explanation, the business hours of the applicant firm, the day of the week and hours, and the day dedicated to applicant firm. So if you're working another job and you're starting your business on the side, you'll probably have to fill one of these out. And in the slides, there was a video that you can click on to view. Next slide. Okay, this is the final slide. So top 3 steps to remember: make sure your SAM.gov profile is active and updated. We went over that a lot in this. Please just verify. A lot of people get in a hurry to do the certification and they don't take the time to do this. And it just ends up costing you at the end the time to get certified. The majority owner must initiate the application and submit it, and then make sure you review the list of the required documents and go through the prepare tab and am I qualified within the certification program. Next slide. And then I included some resources for you. The contracting program, the NAICS table, you can look up if you're ED, WSB, or WSB. The user guide, which has all these screenshots. The preparation list, the eligibility check questionnaire, and then that webinar that I did last year on the actual qualifications, kind of went more in depth on the qualifications of the program. You can click on that and watch that webinar. And then next slide, I think we have, okay. Yeah, I'd like to hit this again. This is a really difficult, complicated certification. So if you have a client, make sure, I mean a counselor, make sure you ask them for help. If you're wanting to do it, you're not a client, go ahead and sign up for our services. If that's the only thing you want to work with us on, that's the only thing you have to work with us on. But we do offer a lot of good help with all certifications. Okay.
All right, thank you, Nancy. So here are our upcoming events, and I'll go through this pretty quickly because we're running a little short on time with, for questions. But we have our panel. Let me back up. Tomorrow we have the second session in our Women in Construction Week series, and that'll be on the Disadvantaged Business, or DBE, certification. So just like this was a deep dive into the women-owned small business certification, tomorrow will be a deep dive into the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise certification. And then on Thursday is going to be a panel of women-owned construction firms. These women are phenomenal. I can't praise them enough. Really impressive women, really open and candid about their experiences with being a woman in the construction industry. And these women are owners of successful firms, and so they're really going to talk us through how they have overcome some of those challenges that they faced. Then we have an SBA mentor protege overview, a government-led innovation programs interview, which Nancy will also be the presenter on that one, and then a doing business with California High-Speed Rail Authority. All of our trainings are located on our website, which is norcalptac.org/trainings. There's more than this. There's several upcoming events. We just can't list them all here. So please go and check out all of our upcoming trainings and see which ones you'd like to attend. All right, time for questions. We do have some good questions in the Q&A section. We will stick around for a little bit and have Nancy answer these questions. If you do need to hop off, please feel free to do so. If we don't get to your question, feel free to shoot us an email. We can answer any unanswered questions that way. I also saw someone mention in the chat that there's a diverse amount of entrepreneurs on this call, and I do see some really excellent networking happening in the chat box. They asked if we can share attendee information with everyone, and unfortunately we can't because we didn't ask for permission during the registration process for that, but it's definitely something I'll consider doing for future events. And what I think I can do is share the chat with everybody. I feel comfortable doing that, so I'll look into doing that. Okay, here we go for some questions.
I'm answering some too.
Oh, you're answering some, okay. So if your firm is a sole proprietorship and your firm is not required to file with the state, and based on the nature of the business and the city, county where it's located, your firm is not required to get a business license, what can the firm use to prove its DBA? A Schedule C, from a tax return, business banking statements, or what?
Yeah, as long as you have something from a government entity, such as your tax return. And I would use the tax return to show that that's your DBA.
Is there a way to see the average number and magnitude of WOSB set-asides?
Yeah, that's usually have that in the other slide. It's usually based on the percentage, usually 5% of the government spend, but they hardly ever reach the 5%. I don't have the numbers offhand. But if you'd like to email the info at Norcal PTAC, is it info at Norcal PTAC, Taylor? If you'd like to email them, they'll give me the question, say this is a question for Nancy. And yeah, I can get the data for you.
Yeah, and that's also something our counselors help with is market research. So if you're curious about, wanting more information on the market to see if going after something like the Women-Owned Small Business Certification is worth your time and resources, that's something we can help you with. Okay, can a woman owner apply only using her ITIN number if she doesn't have a social security number?
As long as you're an American citizen.
In order to be certified, does the owner have to be the RMO? Can she be the RME through the CSLB?
I don't know what any of that is.
Lots of acronyms there. We're not sure what those acronyms are, so please elaborate via email if you'd like that question answered. Okay, we'll just do a couple more here. I work full-time on the business during the day, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., 6 days a week. and worked 28 hours a week at my previous job from 4 to 12 a.m. Do I still need to provide an explanation?
I'm sorry, can you read it again?
I work full-time on the business during the day, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., 6 days a week, and work 28 hours a week at my previous job from 4 to 12 a.m. Do I still need to provide an explanation?
No, because you're spending the time that a regular business would spend time. So if you're doing more than 40 hours a week and you're doing 40 hours a week at your other job, then you don't need that letter.
Okay, and then here's an important one. Does it cost to sign up on sam.gov? I can
Yeah,
answer.
I was just answering that. Someone said I just tried to register on SAM for $599. You don't have to pay anything. Just sign up for our services. If that's the only thing you want help with, we'll help you get registered in SAM. It doesn't cost anything to register in any government registration, certification, or anything. So yeah, just sign up for our service. We'll help you.
This is something that comes up. It's a really big issue. 99.999% of true like registration, certification, anything having to do with the government that's legitimate that you need to do will be free. And so if you ever are prompted to pay, especially a large amount, that's a really big red flag that it's a scam. And unfortunately, scams in this area are pretty common because there's people out there that know they can take advantage of people trying to get these registrations done, not knowing what they're doing, not knowing what's going on, just trying to do the right thing. So we hear about it far more often than we would like to. So yeah, please keep in mind there's a lot of scams out there and everything should be free.
Yeah, lots of scams. If it doesn't say .gov, don't pay attention to it. All the .coms are not legitimate help, really. Some of them just take your money.
There's another one. Someone asked that they said they're located in another state. Can they still follow our APEX Accelerator? If you're not located in our service area, feel free to attend any of our trainings. They're all public and open to anyone, regardless of location. However, you should really work with the APEX Accelerator that's local to your business. Okay, Nancy, how are you feeling? You want to answer some more, or we want to close it out and do some of these via email?
Yeah, if you really have a question you want to answer, like I said, send it to that info and they'll forward it to me and I'll give you an answer. I'm sorry we went a little long today. It's a lot of information when you do a deep dive.
Yeah, okay, so thank you so much for attending today. We hope you got a lot of your questions answered. We hope that this was a valuable experience for you. We do hope to see you at our other 2 webinars in this session, the deep dive on the disadvantaged business enterprise certification tomorrow, and the panel of women construction owners on Thursday. We will be sending out slides and link to recording to everybody who registered, hopefully within 1 week of today's presentation. And we also will be sending you a survey on what you thought about this webinar. Please do try to respond to that because we're a nonprofit and we're funded by federal and state funders. It's really important for us to collect your feedback. We really do read it, we take it into consideration, and we like our trainings to be the most useful they possibly can. So it's really valuable for us if you submit a survey. And Darlene, do you have anything to add before we conclude?
No, very good webinar. Lots of great information to help individuals move through the application process. So thank you all for joining us today.
Thanks, Arlene. Nice seeing you again.
Thank you, Nancy.